Hello there and welcome to Stick Around. Clive here. I'm here today to do a review of God of War on PS4. If you're worried about the smoke, steam coming up here, my desk isn't on fire, it's the tea. Got a tea there, so chill. Anyway, so God of War. God of War came out on PS4 on April 20th, 2018. It's developed by Sony Interactive Entertainment, I believe, Santa Monica Studio, and produced by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It's apparently the 8th installment in the God of War series, confusingly a sequel to God of War 3. Don't know how that works. I guess there's lots of offshoots and stuff like that. I suppose at this point it's important to say that I've not played any other God of War games. This is my first entry into the series. I'm told this is quite different to the other ones, but I don't really know personally because I haven't played any other ones. Let's get straight into the gameplay. The gameplay, it's an action-adventure with RPG elements, pretty similar to what a lot of the sort of recent first-party Sony adventure-type games. It's a bit of a mix of Uncharted and Horizon. Horizon's RPG elements with a bit more of Uncharted's linearity, I suppose. Essentially, you play as Kratos, the God of War. You've got an axe, and you can hit evil things with it. You can also throw said axe at enemies, return it to you at the press of a button, which is pretty satisfying, to be fair. You can't jump unless you need to jump, which initially feels a bit weird. You kind of have to go into a bit where you can actually jump, like a ledge that you can reach the other side. You can't jump into a pit of doom. Initially feels a bit weird, but you kind of get used to it, but it does definitely make the game feel more linear. You can climb stuff pretty much like in Uncharted. There's convenient bits. In Uncharted, you're always looking around. Oh, which bit can I hang off? This is very similar in that you can't jump off bits that you're not supposed to jump up, and it's very clear which route you're supposed to take. It's quite linear in that sense, and there's often bits of like stuff lying around where you're like, well, and blimmin' heck, Kratos, you could just jump over that, couldn't you? There's no problem really, but no, we can't. You jump and there's like an invisible wall, that kind of situation, that you also get in Uncharted Last of Us. You've also got your lad Atreus. Lots of talk about him. He's on the cover. He's your son. You're kind of travelling with him. He's adds a few interesting gameplay wrinkles because he can control what he does. He can shoot arrows at things. He can stun them. He can, he's a nice assist character to have on your team that you are still very much in control of. You kind of tell him when to shoot and that kind of stuff. So that definitely adds like a nice gameplay wrinkle, and that was something that kind of stuck out and takes it a little bit apart from other games, which in a similar vein, like the ones I've mentioned. Finally, there's a rage meter. So you build up this, you're hitting stuff with Kratos. He gets more and more angry the more stuff he hits. He's an angry man. And at some point, the rage meter fills up, and then you can press the required buttons, and you're away. He's in a mist of rage. He's smashing stuff up. You can throw huge rocks at things. Great fun. That lasts a certain amount of time, and then it disappears again. You've got to build it back up. Again, adding interesting dynamics to the gameplay. Got to decide when's the best time to use this, because it does take a long time to charge back up. So the gameplay it's very polished. It feels great. It's satisfying. Initially, it took a while to get used to all the buttons and figure out what on earth everything does. But at the end, it felt very satisfying, smashing up enemies and throwing your axe into things' heads and then pressing a button to make it come back, and boomeranging it around. Felt very satisfying. It is fun to play, which I suppose is the main thing. But I don't think the gameplay is kind of revolutionary in any way. It's very much felt like Uncharted with an axe, I suppose, with some more RPG elements thrown in. It didn't make me go, wow, this is really cool, this is really new, this is really fresh. I feel like Sony first-party games are getting a little bit, they've got this kind of template which things stick to, which very much kind of in a Last of Us Uncharted type vein. You get to a new room, there's loads of enemies, you kill them, and through the game there's this story that develops, and in all, it's quite linear. This one has, like I say, a bit more RPG elements, but it's definitely more linear than something like Horizon Zero Dawn, where you've got way more freedom and you can jump up most things, and even things that you're probably not supposed to get on. Whereas this, like I say, there is very much an invisible wall whenever you go somewhere that you're not supposed to go, which just took away from it a little bit, because it felt like the game was trying to claim to be free, unlike something like Uncharted, which is just very linear anyway, and you kind of just feel like you accept that a bit more. This felt like it should have had a bit more freedom, and that definitely took away a little bit from my experience. In terms of the RPG elements I've mentioned, there's an upgrade tree. You can, upgrade, get different skills for your axe, your shield, your rage. When you get really angry, you can have different skills going on there. Nothing original again, but fun to build up your character. It's very similar to the upgrade tree in something like Horizon or Tomb Raider. Like I say, nothing particularly original, but the new skills you get are fun. They add a lot of dynamic to the combat. They make, you can build your character in how you tend to play. For me, I did a lot of melee stuff, so I focused more on the sort of close quarters combat type stuff, and that suited me well. So you can definitely build your character in a way that suits your playstyle, and it's satisfying to get new moves and then use them in battle. So I like that system. Thought it was good. The story is it's a Norse mythology type story. Very basically, you're trying to return Atreus, Kratos' son's mother's ashes to the highest peak in the realm. And that's very basic, very basically. But obviously things don't go as planned. There's all sorts of kind of misdemeanors. You got to go to other realms, all sort of things, crazy things going on. If you're more into like the Norse mythology and gods and in that kind of world, you probably get more out of it than I did. I didn't feel particularly invested in the world itself or the lore of the world, and all the sort of bits that I picked up on the side I wasn't all that interested in. Probably personal preference, like I say, those things are well built up. There is lots of those things going on if you're in it for that, but I just didn't really get into it. That I was very invested in the relationship between Atreus and Kratos, but I didn't feel all that invested in the world. I would say that the characters in this game are interesting. They have a bit more depth to them to something like Horizon, where I thought Aloy was great, but everyone else felt a bit bland. In this one, there is, Kratos, Atreus, their relationship is really realistic, and you can empathise with it a lot, and it definitely sucks you into the game. But there's also other characters that are fun and have depth to them, and slight, although the story arcs are sort of less pronounced than the main two characters, they have story arcs of their own, and they're a little bit more. They have a bit more depth to them than the characters in something like Horizon Zero Dawn. Overall, I think this is a great game. It does a lot of things really, really well. Personally, I don't think it's a game of the generation and all this kind of 10 out of 10 stuff, which I'd reserve for more masterpieces that are a little bit more groundbreaking. But it does do what it does really, really well. I don't feel it adds much new. It very much follows the sort of Sony first-party template happening at the minute with The Last of Us, Uncharted, which is all very good fun, but I'm starting to get a little bit tired of it, I suppose. I'm still very much enjoying it, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like sometimes that freshness has gone now, and it's getting a little bit stale, I feel, and I think they need to start throwing up some new ideas. It didn't really surprise me at any point, probably because of what I've said about the template that it's following. Also, didn't get engrossed. That's probably more of a personal thing for sure, because I'm not all that into mythology and Norse mythology. It's definitely something that took away from the experience for me, that I wouldn't really get into the world as much as I did with Horizon Zero Dawn. And I mean, I don't agree with a lot of the hyperbole around the game, such as the guy who had like, imagine Zelda with a deep engrossing story or something, he said, and then he had a list of all this stuff. I mean, for a start, it's not Zelda with a deep engrossing story. Yes, it has a way more deep and engrossing story than Zelda, but it's not in any way like Zelda. It's got 30% of the freedom of Zelda. Zelda, you can go wherever the hell you like. You absolutely cannot in this. There's a hub world and then other worlds going off that world without spoiling things too much, but the freedom isn't anywhere near as much. Each of those worlds will have a ton of areas that you can't get to because there's an invisible wall, and you can't jump over things that look like Kratos, this big hulking man, should be able to just blast through, and he can't because the game doesn't want you to. It's not comparable to Zelda, so I don't understand why that comparison was made. It's a very different game. It's not Zelda with a better story. It's a completely different game with a better story. Zelda has tons more freedom and is, in my opinion, a lot more groundbreaking. I think it's a great game, but not amazing or groundbreaking in any way. Tea of Judgment time. So I am going to give this I'm feeling an 8 for this game. A strong 8, but it's not, 8's a great score, rhymes, and it's true, but 9, it's not a 9 for me. It would need to be affected me a little bit more and just felt it's done something a little bit fresher, and it's certainly not a 10. It's not, that I'll reserve that for sort of masterpieces and things that I think are groundbreaking or that really, really impact me in a way that this doesn't feel like that kind of caliber. It's an 8. I think you'd like this more if you're more into Norse mythology, you're more invested in the God of War series, or you really like axes. You're probably going to like it less. There's probably not many of you out there who like it less, but everyone seems to love it a bit more than I do. If you're even more bored of the sort of Sony first-party template, you don't like gore, quite a gory game, or you hate people speaking in deep voices or saying the word boy. Lots of times in deep voices, then you're probably going to like it less. Steer clear if that's you. Otherwise, play it. 8 out of 10. Great game. Thanks for watching this review. If you check down there in the notes, there's links to our website. We've got articles and stuff and all that fun stuff. We've got a podcast, which is the main thing we do, about music, games, books, films and TV shows. We sort of rotate those on a weekly basis as best we can. This YouTube channel will be reviewing things from all those types of things, whatever I decide to watch, play, whatever. Give us a subscribe, whatever that is, somewhere down there, I think. Comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think my hair's looking particularly poofy today? I think it is. Do you think I should probably trim my beard? I think I probably should. But, you know, going for the Kratos look. Comments down there. But remember, be kind to each other.